Hey YouTube, what's going on? Thought I'd make another video based on the responses I'm getting from the videos, the last two videos I made. If you want to check those out, get a little background about me. This is the Here in My Office series. So, here in my office, what am I going to talk about today? I want to talk a little bit about traveling for business now. I've been to Tokyo, Japan, been to Hong Kong, Mumbai, India, Mexico City, which is, a dangerous place. Almost went to Turkey, another kind of dangerous place. And I've been to Brazil, Curitiba, Brazil, which, you also got to watch your back over there. And I'm just giving some travel tips on what mistakes I've made and the things that I've done that I think maybe if you have to travel for business in whether you're working in banking or anything that involves travel globally, these are some tips you should know. And I'm going to start off with a story. And this goes back to the manufacturing company I used to work at when I was an internal auditor starting out. I was, 25 years old, had my big trip to Tokyo, and, that all went fine and well, but there was a second leg of the journey that involved going to Hong Kong. And when I went to Hong Kong, planes are late sometimes, so the flight was delayed multiple times, and this is actually a kind of exciting story. Scary story. I was flying on Cathay Pacific Airways, and they were having some technical difficulties with the plane. So we attempted a liftoff, and they bailed on it. So all of a sudden, you're zooming down the runway and you're ready to take off, and all of a sudden, the engine shut off, probably went into reverse, and they bailed on the takeoff. They never got off the ground. So we went around. And next thing you know is we're waiting. We're sitting on the plane for what seemed to be hours. At the time, it was probably an hour or two, sitting on the tarmac. And they brought out some beer, so that calmed everyone's nerves. There were people walking with like 4 beers in their hands and shit. That's what Cathay Pacific was doing. So kudos to them. That was fun. But what wasn't fun is we tried to take off a second time. It didn't work again, and I heard a bang, and I'm like, I want off this plane. I'm scared. But then they said over the announcement speaker that they're taking it back to the engineers. The engineers have to look at the plane. So I'm thinking, now this is a Boeing 747 jet. This was a big jet with the ones with the 2 rows on either side and seating in the middle, probably 30 rows across the plane. I think it was a 747. And at that point, I guess the last thing they want to do is empty the plane and incur all that cost. So they tried to take off a third time, and the third time was a charm. We got off the runway, but it was a nail biter. I was afraid that the plane was going to fall out of the sky at liftoff. I mean, because the most dangerous parts of flying is the takeoff and the landing. But what we ended up doing was, this was a flight from Tokyo, Japan to Hong Kong, and we got to Hong Kong, and when I got there, it was this was Hong Kong International Airport, which is one of the biggest airports in the world, and it was probably between midnight and 3 in the morning. So I had to go to work the next day, and I had one day to go to one work day there. I went all the way to Hong Kong for one day at a place called Menlo Worldwide Logistics. It was a distribution center. But I made it to the airport. And when I got there, I was given some basic instructions from the managing director at the office in Tokyo, and he said, just all I need to know was my hotel. Find a taxi. And I was staying at the Marco Polo Hotel, and that's another thing. There's 2 Marco Polo hotels in Hong Kong. One is super nice, and one is a shithole. So I stayed in a beautiful hotel, the Cerulean Tower Hotel in Tokyo. It was a 5-star hotel where all the executives stayed. When I got to the airport, anyway, I got to the airport, and there was nobody there. It was a ghost town, and there was this little Asian guy walking around. And I remember he had a newspaper stuck in his pants in the back, sticking up halfway up his back. And said, come on, we can take you. We can take you. I'm like, I had the shuttle services was all off. This is a big mistake. Don't take a ride from strangers. Make sure you know whose taxi you're going through. So he came up to me. He was very cordial and nice, and he said to me, "This is around the time Obama took office, so 2008, 2009 it was." And he said to me, "We can get you to Marco Polo." I'm like, oh, "Okay." So he brought me out to a black car, and flagged me down, brought me down to the car, and then we got in the car. And at this point, everything seemed cool, and we crossed a big bridge. And when we crossed the bridge, there was no tolls. We didn't stop. We didn't even go through anything that I could tell. And he told me, he turned around and said to me, it was just him and his buddy up at the front driving, and I'm sitting in the back seat, and he's like, "There's a toll. It's $100 or something, whatever it was, Hong Kong dollars." And I said, "Okay, what was I going to say?" And at this point, I was starting to get a little scared because there was no toll that I could tell. And they didn't tell me about that before the ride. And they didn't tell me how much the ride was going to cost. So at any rate, I was very uncomfortable. And they took me to my destination. My fear was they were going to kidnap me. You never know. And, they see a rich American and they see money signs. So I got to the hotel, and when we got there, he stopped and he gave me an exorbitant fare. He said, I think it was hundreds of dollars. And I said, "What am I going to do?" I had my computer in the back of the taxi, and I had to say to the guy, "Okay." I paid him with a corporate card. It wasn't my money, but I got into the hotel to check in, and I said to them, "How much should it have cost for me to get from Hong Kong International Airport to this hotel?" And he probably said, let's say $50, and I paid $300. And he's like, "Yeah, the mafia runs cars out of Hong Kong International Airport. You got to be careful." I'm like, "That's great. I was just taken by the mob, the Hong Kong mafia, to bring me to my hotel." So guys, just be careful and don't take rides from strangers. You need to plan your trip in advance. And this goes for business or pleasure travel. If you see somebody walking around just hawking people to try to take them somewhere and give them a ride, don't do it. And taxi cabs in Hong Kong are supposed to have and when I was in Hong Kong the next day, I did see the taxis that are multicolored, and they have their crown, and they have there should be like a license on the car. I didn't look for that because I didn't know better, but knowing now what I know now, I would have definitely passed on this guy's ride. So yeah, guys, just be careful out there, and watch your back, and when you're traveling to somewhere that's unfamiliar territory, ideally make sure you're traveling with somebody who knows what they're doing, and if not, maybe you can learn from this video. Don't take rides from strangers. So that's all I have for now, but stay tuned to my videos. This is here in my office series. This is video 3. I think I could make 300 videos talking about my experiences over the last 12 years in audit and in banking. I have 5 years experience at an international manufacturing company, a textile manufacturer, that I worked in internal audit for 5 years. I was a systems analyst. I have systems analyst stories. I was a SAP FICO systems analyst for 9 months. And then I took a job in an international bank, and I was a bank audit, senior bank auditor for 4 years, and a bank audit manager for 3. So I have a wealth of knowledge to let you guys know, and I urge you to check out my other videos where I get more into my career progression, and how you can make a success out of yourself doing a what seems to be a boring, dry 9-to-5 audit job at a bank. But it can be very lucrative, and I'm proof of that. So if you like this video, please comment if you can, or at the very least, subscribe, and look at the end of this video. We'll have a link to the some of my other videos down here. Show you more information about my career, and that's about all I have for now. So thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.